Thank you much, sir. 722 WTIC. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Alden Davis is here, sitting to my right. Ready? Well, no. This is our weekly visit with Star Power and, myvaluetree.com. And, it's a great website. And we're going to talk about little things you can do to get yourself back in action, back in the game, and how to deal with certain things like conflict. We did that a couple weeks ago.
And Ray, that conflict discussion we had generated a 50% increase to the website. It reached people.
Good.
And I think next time
I like this one, though.
We're going to continue to build on that. Hey, as we get into today, I'd really like to say thank you to all the good people who go about doing their lives every day. I was down in Florida working, and everywhere you turn, there are people working the restaurants, parents taking their kids to school, going about their jobs without somebody sitting on top of them. And you know what, everyone? Thank you for just being good people.
That's good that you did that. I like that.
Today we're talking about getting into action and exercising your personal power. Now remember, the Star Power is 5 elements in an integrated system designed to help you thrive in these uncertain times. But the system, you only get value from the system if you can make a decision. It doesn't do any good if you can't get into action. So today, it's the power of the decision, the words, let's do it.
I like that.
This really came to mind just a few weeks ago. My son Stefan and son-in-law were sitting around chatting, Ray. And Stefan says, hey, wouldn't it be interesting to have a fry party? Just get a couple of deep fryers, some batter, and just have people come over and fry stuff.
Got me.
And Dan looks at him and says, wow, let's do it. Now, from that little conversation, they turned it into an event. It was held right off at Times Square in a fancy art gallery. It was totally funded by the gallery. They had over 50 people there. It went for 3 hours. It was an absolute out-of-the-park success.
Absolutely.
And it all started with chatting. Chatting turned into a commitment. The commitment then finds the solutions. The commitment promoted the event. The commitment hosted the event, and goodness happened for all involved. It's like Gina at the Hartford, the Hispanic Society Forum. She calls me up and she says, let's do a workshop. And she makes it happen. Mm-hmm. I was down walking the beach yesterday morning. Here's a woman all on her own with a backpack on her back cleaning up the beach. She gets into action.
It's not her job. She just did it.
She just does it.
Wow.
I last Tuesday over at University of Hartford got to hear Blake Mikowski, the guy who started Tom's Shoes. The guy goes down to Argentina. He gets involved, sees kids that don't have shoes. He's probably 35 years old, and he says, why don't I start a business, and for every pair of shoes I make, I'll give away a pair of shoes. He had nothing to do with the shoe business, didn't know anything, and within 6 months, this thing exploded on him. Why? He had the ability to take a thought and turn it into action, but sometimes that seems overwhelming. So what we're going to do is break this down into a series of smaller steps so that you can go from vision into reality. And if you go out to the website right now, myvaluetree.com, there is a great schematic for you to work through, and it's 3 separate decisions. So now, the first decision that we start with, decision 1, it's just saying, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. Now, the decision is I commit to explore it. That's all I'm asking you to do.
And that's pretty easy.
But there are people who just can't even get over that hurdle. And you're right. It should be easy.
So you start thinking about ways you can't do it, why it won't work, I suppose.
Well, you don't.
Or you don't even go that far.
It's a cool idea, but you really don't care enough to drive it on.
So that's the commitment part.
I mean, that really is the commitment right off the bat. So now with commitment 1, all you're doing is visioning. You don't even have to get out of your chair to do this portion of it. But this says I am looking out in time. I can describe in detail the future the way I want it to be. And I'm going to compare this future state with what I actually have to work with. So, Dan and Stefan, we need to do a fry party. We don't have fryers.
All right, so how do we do that?
Exactly. That's exactly the question. What's it going to take to get the fryers? So that got them up to decision point 2, which says, okay, we've thought this through. We thought through what we need. I have a doable vision. And now I commit to planning and preparing. So now we're going to say, great idea, but I'm willing to start taking some small steps. So now we're going from the vision to the potential. to put potential into my future, this is where I actually have to study and think about the sequence of steps I have to go through to reach the vision and what I have to put in place. So they got to get a fryer. They have to get a place to sit down with people. They have to be able to send out the invitation. Right? It's putting together the do list. And based on that plan, then we start to make the necessary preparations to bring this vision to life.
All right, hang on, because we're going to go to number 3 next.
Oh, 3 is getting good.
I know. That's where we're going to make you wait through the news, okay? All right, so what we're talking about today, Alden Davis is here. And we're going to have to take a break here in a minute in sports, but I just kind of want to keep moving on this. And this is getting into action. It's basically what? Making a decision, I guess is what we're talking about, and commit.
Right, it's about that commitment, but instead of making one big one, we're breaking it down into 3 smaller ones.
And
so
you
it
can
doesn't
stop
become,
at any point.
Right, that's exactly it. I commit to explore the idea, I commit to plan and prepare, and then I commit to implement. But, so many times people want the result without the work, and they collapse in this second phase, which is putting potential in it. I commit to plan and prepare. But planning's important, but plans are not. No plan survives contact with reality. I love that quote. But you've got to have a sense of what it's going to take to get you to your future. There are 3 kinds of people, Ray. There are those that make it happen. There are those who wait for it to happen. And then there are those who wish it will happen. It's just what you're saying. Go make your life. Go make your own story.
Well, your own story.
But you got to get up and do it. So what we're trying to say here is by the time you put the potential in the system, then you come over to decision 3, which says, I like the plan.
Okay.
So I like the idea. I have a doable vision. Now I like the plan, and now I commit to implement it. And with that commitment now, that's when the event begins. That's when you move everything into action. You move into the future that you had envisioned, and you're satisfied with both the journey and the results. So, Star Power, 5 elements designed to get you into action. But if you can't make a decision, it's a worthless system. So today, go out to myvaluetree.com.
Yeah.
Click on the resources, drop down, and get the handout for today. Getting into action. And everyone, appreciate your hard work every day.
Yes, sir.
And look forward to a great week, and look forward to talking again next week.
I would hope so. It's 7:43. We're planning on that. We've committed.
We are committed. There it is.
What do you think we have you on next week? I don't know. It's pretty good. Could we have it done? Could you get in your car and come out here?
I don't know.
Yes, we can commit. That's right. Which, by the way, just before we take the break, which is the hardest part? Are they all difficult, or is there one where a lot of this process stops?
Oh, it stops at number 2.
Because then as I'm looking into it, I figure out ways it won't work.
Right. And that's where a lot of the disempowering thinking comes into play during the visioning thing. All the old baggage comes into play. Conflicting priorities come into play. And that's where you really find out if you really want it.
So that's the rough spot. That's the rough spot.
Oh, I believe
And once you get
so.
through that, then
Yep.
okay. Somebody once said, some men look at things as they are and ask why. I look at things that never were and say, that won't work either. It's 7:43. We'll take a break.